Hello, everybody. I'm going to give it a couple minutes here in case there's anybody that's running a little behind that would like to join. Because for me, let's see, it's 8:58 a.m. in Thailand. The weather here is, it's pretty beautiful. It's real humid. This time of the year is considered their winter, which compared to being in the United States, basically means that it's a few degrees Celsius cooler. That's about it. Humidity is quite a bit higher, and actually less rain because the winter isn't the raining season. But I'm going to go ahead and give you guys, those of you who don't know who I am or don't know why I'm doing this, or what in the heck is this guy doing. Well, it started off, let's see, about April of 2022. I was a volunteer for the Foreign Legion of Ukrainian Defense, 100% volunteer. I want absolutely nothing. I wouldn't even, when I was there, wouldn't even let them buy me a cup of coffee, because it was important to me that I would never be able to be seen as a mercenary. Anyway, so why did I volunteer to go there? I volunteered because the condition of the world, I have noticed for quite some time that it's spiraling downward. At that point, and well, not necessarily at that point, but I wasn't a religious man. I had faith. I had belief in what I considered to be a superior being. I never really called it God because I felt God was kind of a human name that was given. I didn't follow or study any religion, almost to the extent where I was against it, because I felt it was almost like the best way to create law and order is to put the fear of the unknown. And I also, the important people in my life, my three daughters, my girlfriend at the time that meant the world to me, and my father, I felt as if they didn't have a clue who I was. And my clients, I had a client base of about 5,000 clients as a tattoo artist. And every single one of my clients would come to me and they would all dump on me, if you will, or if they felt comfortable talking to me about the worst parts of their life, the struggles they were going through, everything that caused them pain. And it started making me feel as if everybody's feeling sorry for themselves. And in all actuality, I realized that I was also feeling sorry for myself, as if nobody in the world loved me. Nobody in the world loved me the way I felt I deserved to be loved. Nobody in the world was able to recognize who I was, to my core. Because all my life, I have been that guy that has always hoped that I'd come across a burning home with people inside so that I could run inside and risk my life and be willing to give up my life to save someone else's. Because I've always felt the most honorable way that I could die is willing to risk my life trying to save someone else. Granted, that was back then. And anything I say at this point, please allow me to explain and just follow along. And when I say follow along, what's important is that you know how to listen. Now, when I say that, all of us have a hard time listening. It's a proven fact. And the only true listening is when you're actually able to hear every single word that a person says in your head, instead of hearing your own thoughts about what they're saying. We'll get into that a lot later. But so I went to Ukraine, and I was there experience things that nobody else in the world can comprehend unless you've been there. And when I got back, the person I was in a relationship with, I knew that I did not want to expose her to the transition that I was going to be going through, the healing process that I was going to be going through from all of what I was exposed to in Ukraine. Because she was definitely battling her own psychological issues from her childhood, because she was a lot younger than me. Just so that we keep everything transparent and there's no question. Yes, she was of legal age and all of this, no weirdness or anything like that. But I broke up with her and I chose to allow her to keep living with me. I didn't care if she worked or not. You know, I had hoped that she would be willing to go to school. I got her into a program to help her, you know, with her mental illness that she was struggling. And let me say, the world would view as a mental illness. The illusion would view as a mental illness. I actually understand that it's not a mental illness. And what we consider as a society within the illusion, within the 20% of the brain, to be a mental illness, in all actuality, it's mentally ill to feel that someone's mentally ill because of it. Because the truth of it is, it's that 20% of the brain that's getting so overfull of negativity that's projected onto it by its own perception of life, by its own illusion. Anyway, so, and we'll get into that more later. But so I break up with her, I let her stay with me. I help her as much as I can. And then finally, it was about October, she got a place in Texas that she moved to. And then December came around, she decided that she wanted to come back and show me that she had changed. And then through my time after being back from Ukraine and tattooing again, I really started obsessing, if you will, about getting the highest quality tattoos done that I possibly could. I wanted to push the envelope. I wanted the world to be able to see who I was through the art that I was doing. Because I felt so honored that my clients were willing to allow me to put my artwork on their body that would be there for life. So I felt I had a moral obligation to become the absolute best tattoo artist I could in the world. And for me, the way I see art and the way I saw quality within tattoos was the more dimension I could get within the tattoo. To me, I saw it as the more detail, the more care, the more passion, the more love I put into the tattoos, because I knew that the more dimension within a tattoo, the better it's going to age. The more soul, if you will, would be within the tattoo, because I believe all tattoos express the person's inner soul. That's why they're putting it on their body. You know, the world wants to, as a matter of fact, here, look at the top of my head. It gives you an idea of where I was at as a tattoo artist. And I did this way before waking up, way before becoming conscious, because my clients saw the top of my head. But so when she came back, you know, things were a lot better. Then she went back home. We agreed that it was going to be March before she would come back. But during the time of tattooing, I started learning how to actually create what is 3D tattoos. The average mind can't actually see it until you tell the mind to see it. That, you know, look at dimension as the tattoo changes and see how the tattoo, as the arm rolls, how the perspective or perception of the tattoo totally changes. Like, for example, clouds moving behind the structure. or something like that. And I started coming to the understanding that in order to create a 3D tattoo, it's not what you're putting in the tattoo in all actuality, it's what you're leaving out. It's the perception of the void that makes us see it as three-dimensional. Then I started thinking, well, now if you say, allow yourself to stare at the screen right now, stare at my face, don't focus on one thing in particular. Just allow your eyes to relax, almost feel as if you're a little intoxicated. Just allow your eyes to relax. Allow your vision to kind of get out of focus. And just look at my face. And what you'll start seeing around my body, around my face, is a white glow, if you will. Some people that you look at, you might see different colored glows and so on and so on. And maybe someday we'll get into that and I'll explain why. But at this point, it's not necessary to know why. It's just necessary to recognize. So as your eyes are relaxed and you're staring at my face and you can see the white glow around me, that is actually perceived as my aura, my energy. Or you could even see it as the Holy Spirit within me that is making me glow. And I can show you so many things that will, in essence, blow your mind. You'll think that it's a miracle. But to me, it's not a miracle. It's everybody. It's here constantly. Everything that I can show you is not a miracle. It's right in front of you. You just haven't been taught how to see it. You just haven't been able to find the truths within you to understand that, hey, everything that you've been taught in your brain has a certain percentage of untruth to it because it has negative in it. And the only truths in this world are positive. Period. Positive, where do you get to your truths? Well, in order to get to the truths, 100% of all your truths, the first thing you have to do is you have to be able to purge the negative out of your head. You might think that you can learn your truths strictly by reading a Bible. Let's say King James Version, the Jesus story. You think that you can get to your truths by that. Why do you think so many generations after generations after generations have tried to figure out exactly what the Bibles are saying and nobody's truly been able to do it? It's because everybody who is non-conscious, their brain is perceiving the negative first. So everything that goes into a non-conscious person's brain is from a negative perspective. Those of you science gurus out there, we're getting into quantum physics where there's a mirror image of yourself, a negative and a positive, on the opposing sides of infinity. Well, the truth of the matter is you are living from the negative first. You are truly perceiving everything from the negative first. That is blocking you from being able to get to your truths. And the only truths that exist are once you gain your consciousness, once you become centered, once you become one within your God that is within you. Whatever your energy source comes from, I can't tell you what it is. I can help you find it. But nobody in this world can tell you what it is. If you stop and think, every single person that's going to tell you something, unless they are fully conscious, unless the only thing in this world they are doing is positivity, unless they get dedicated their life strictly to love and will not say anything negative, but strictly point out the positive and try to get everybody else to recognize the positive, then why in the world would you listen to that person? I mean, granted, our parents, we listen to our parents. Our parents are the ones who program our illusion, let's say the first 7 years of our existence, of our current illusion. It's been proven fact that the brain is a sponge for the first 7 years. And it's also a proven fact that each generation keeps introducing more and more negative, because it's nobody's fault. It's truly your parents trying to protect you from the negative of this world that could harm you. Now, if you stop and think, your brain, your negative memories are by far the strongest memories you have. The pain, anything that has been traumatizing to you in your existence, in your life, boy, you can instantly pull those up. You might think, yeah, because it's the PTSD, it's the trauma, it's, you know, the mental scars, the neural pathways are so strong. All of these things. Well, in the illusion, you're correct. 20% of that is correct. But the 80%, the other 80%, is where the truths are. Now, granted, we need some negative in order to have the positive everywhere in existence. That's true. You know, you look at yin and yang, you look at an angel and devil, you look, every single thing is going to say, you look at nuclear fusion, or fission, or whichever route you want to go. You look at how the earth, how the sun, every single thing in existence has some positive and some negative. I mean, you can even look at the ozone and how the ozone works, and why the earth doesn't stink horrendously all the time, how smells are able to get depleted. Every single where you look, you'll find that that is true. Now, the negative memories in your brain, the reason why they're here, and the reason why they're so strong and at the front of your subconscious or your memories, however you choose to put it, they're there because it's your soul that is saying, hey, you missed the important messages here. Because for every one experience, I guarantee you I can find a millionfold positive experiences that could have came from that. But unfortunately, from your perception, from the negative that you were taught, you're not able to recognize all the positive things that came from that experience. Let me use an example for myself. You know, I've been cheated on many a times in my life. That's a horrendous thing to go through. Very positive things I can find out about is I learned rather quickly that this person didn't know me. This person didn't see me for who I am. This person didn't love me. So I choose to see it as my Holy Spirit, my Zen, my whatever you want to call it, woke me up enough to realize that, hey, this is not my person. To me, that is way more positive than the fact that this person chose to, in essence, destroy our relationship and have sex with someone else. Now, as we apply this way of thinking, you can actually apply it to every ounce of the negative memories in your brain. You know, the loss of a loved one who passed. Well, why not look at it as the time you got with them? There was someone, one of my clients, actually not one of my clients, one of my listeners from my channel, that had suffered a horrendous loss, a 6-month-old baby. And it was destroying her life. thoughts of suicide and so on. And she wanted to come to me, or she came to my house that I had in Oregon at the time. And she wanted me to help her get past it, help her understand how she can let go of all this horrendous pain. And I listened to her, and hey, it was a heartfelt moment and very cheerful for both of us. It was not easy for me to hear, because the love I have for my 3 daughters makes me want to puke, even having the thought, or at least the illusional thought, of harm coming to them. But as she sat next to me, I believe I held her hand, and I closed my eyes, and I just thought with my heart. I didn't let my brain, I didn't let the emotion, I didn't cloud my perception. And I just thought within my heart, what positive could have come from that? And instantly, it's like a whole galaxy just opened up in my chest of how light and how spacious it all of a sudden felt. And I looked at her, and I held her hand, and I said, please recognize that you got 6 months with this human being that you had so much love for, that in all actuality wasn't meant to be here. That is 6 months of a miracle. Sure, it doesn't make that negative experience easier to swallow initially within the illusion. Sometimes wish for a person. Hello, how are you? It's good to hear from you. Anyways, so she actually stopped crying, and she looked at me, and she said, you know what? I never thought of that. And it's not our fault. It's because our brain is programmed from the negative first. The very first memory that you have when you're born, back in the olden days, I don't know exactly what they do now, but the first memories you have, say when you're a baby and you're born, and it used to be the daughters spank your bottom to get you to cry to make sure you're alive. Well, that's negative. The first time your mother stopped feeding you, you cried. That was negative, survival, food. The first time your mother walked out of the room and left you alone, you cried. That was negative, security. And it continues to go on and on and on. Now realize your illusion, your physical brain, is absorbing all of these negative experiences. And these are very strong memories, because your illusion, your physical brain, wants to protect you from having to experience these negative emotions and negative circumstances again. So that's how, when you look at all the trauma that you've gone through, or the mistakes you've made, or the poor choices you've made, or all the negative memories you have in your brain, that's the way you need to start viewing it. Is, okay, your physical mind was truly trying to protect you from going through these negative experiences, negative vibrations, negative patterns that we experience in our life. Another way of helping you understand is, in America, a lot of homes have what's referred to as mini blinds. These are blinds that are in front of a window that you can adjust to close off to give privacy. A lot of them are real cheap, flimsy aluminum mini blinds. And if somebody ever sticks their arm through, or a cat sticks its head through a mini blind, or a dog, and it bends it up to where now instead of having perfectly straight lines, you have one that's bent up awkwardly, you know. Or look at any lines on a, you can even do this yourself. Draw a bunch of lines, straight lines on a piece of paper, except have one of them with a ripple in it, you know, or bent at the end or whatever, and put that piece of paper on a non-prominent wall in your house by your front door. And what you will find is when you walk into that room, or when anybody that's new walks into that room or pulls up to a house with a bent mini blind, our eyes will instantly go to that mini blind and notice that one of them's bent. Or if a person comes to your house, you know, for the first time, they'll look over to that piece of paper that only has one line that has a ripple or a bend in it, and their eyes will look at it and they'll look away. It's not a threat, therefore the illusion doesn't even point it out to you, but the brain will instantly notice it out of protection. Because one thing that the brain is always doing is it's always analyzing geometry, if you will. It knows when a circle is not perfectly round. It knows when a straight line is not perfectly straight. This is the only thing it truly has to initially protect you from the threat of your existence, in your illusion. Now you start to understand why Mother Nature has no actual repetitious geometry within it until you get into sacred geometry or you know, formulas within, or so on. From the science realm, when you get way into space and breaking down atoms and so on, you can find patterns. But our illusion can't. Now, if you watched my last video where I showed the picture of the crucifix and I explained how to stare at it and then close your eyes, and I explained what you will see. And, you know, if you had a hard time initially seeing it, well, that gives you an idea of how much control that 20% your illusion is of your existence. If you were able to see it right away and see everything I said that you would see, well, that's a good sign. You know, because there is different levels of consciousness, different levels of becoming one with your God. You know, when you walk into a room, you can get a weird feeling about somebody without even knowing them. Well, it's not coming from here. It's coming from here. Because you can see somebody that is staring at, well, you can feel somebody that's staring at you from behind at times. Well, that's here. Because this is what's able to recognize and interpret the unseen vibrations, the unheard vibrations. I can show different ways through the eyes to get you to actually see your brain trying to do what I say it will do, something that nobody in the world has ever pointed it out. It's not because I, you know, am doing magic. It's not because I am misleading or anything. It's because I'm awake and I'm actually able to see it. And therefore, since I'm awake, I can explain it to you in a way that you can see it. Let me give you an example. I've done this before on my channel. Nothing special about it. Just bear with me, please. All right. So what we have here is simply on an iPad, I've just drawn some colors, yellow and blue. Well, if I was to ask you in your brain, picture what the color yellow blue, the two yellow and blue mixed together, would look like, the brain's going to want to tell you green. Well, the truth of the matter is it can't exist because the brain cannot see, or the eyes in the illusion cannot see yellow and blue simultaneously together, because we have four different cones that perceive light frequencies, light vibrations, if you will. Yellow, green, red, and blue are the four cones. Now, when the reason why you see yellow is because yellow, the color yellow, is actually absorbing all the light waves, all the light vibrations of the other colors. Research this, you can find it out yourself. Therefore, when you have yellow and blue together, your brain cannot actually see the color yellow blue. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you something that, in essence, nobody else in the world has ever shown you, and nobody else in the world has ever realized. Now, bear with me, and please just go along with me and see that I know what I'm talking about. And this isn't a trick. It's not a digital trick. I could do it with, and all I did here, you can see, is I just, increased the size of the lines on my iPad so that you can see them. Now, please just do, what I say, so that you can see and you can truly understand that your perception of your existence, of your life, is an illusion, and nobody else in the world can see the exact same illusion that you see unless they're fully conscious. So, please get close to the lines, the yellow and blue lines, and get all the way close and concentrate strictly on the center where the yellow and the blue color comes together. Just concentrate on those lines. Just keep staring at them. Now, what you're going to notice when you stare at them without moving your eyes or anything, you're going to notice the edge of the yellow all of a sudden gets a little brighter. Then the edge of the blue gets a little darker. Now it's going to start switching back and forth from the bright yellow edge to the dark blue edge. And you're not going to be able to control it. What that is that's your brain actually trying to learn what the color yellow-blue is, because I told it to. The longer you stare, the more prominent the bright yellow edge gets, the darker the blue edge gets, and so on. Now, for the grand finale, close your eyes. You still see the colors yellow and blue. Now, open your eyes. Look at the yellow-blue lines again. Look at the edges, how it keeps switching back and forth and so on. Now, close your eyes again. The colors are backwards. Blue is on the opposing side of the yellow. Plain and simple. How is that possible? Why has nobody else in the world shown that colors actually flip? We know that the eyes will flip things over, from up and down, we feel, through our illusion, through that we've been taught. But nobody's ever pointed out that they flip this way instead. Okay, key points behind that you need to stop and allow your brain to think about, allow your illusion to process so that it can understand that there is more to this than our perception is perceiving. First off, ask yourself, why, when you close your eyes, do you still see colors? Do you still see anything? You can look away, you can do whatever, and you still see it. Well, the truth is, everything in existence is vibration. What you perceive is vibration. And your brain, through the use of the cones in your eyes to perceive color and so on, your brain processes all these vibrations simultaneously to give you your illusion of what you've been taught to perceive as your life experience. Now, why is the edges, getting lighter and darker? Well, it's because your brain can't see both of them simultaneously, but I told it to figure out the color yellow, blue. So it's trying really hard. Your brain is trying to give you the illusion, but yet you can actually see it. Now ask yourself, how did I know what you would see when your eyes are closed? Nobody else in the entire world can tell you what you see when your eyes are closed. But yet, I knew what you would see. Fair point, right? Now, continue on and ask yourself, how did the colors switch? Well, my friends, that is because your illusion is always looking at the negative first. You truly are living a mirror image of your reality, of reality on reality's terms. And the only way you start seeing it, to give you an idea, when my eyes are closed, I can actually still see the yellow and blue, and I can get them to literally switch back and forth. How? Because I'm fully awake and my brain, my physical brain, my illusion now works for me instead of me working for it. This is why I don't feel any pain. This is why I don't really have any fear. This is why I'm willing to do what I'm doing with my channel. If you haven't stopped and thought about it, I am actually addressing every single religion in the world and pointing out that every single religion in the world, when it comes down to it, the truths are all the same. That we need to, in all actuality, listen to the core of our religions and learn the truth that comes between us and our God. Now, granted, I know that there's many people in this world that have no desire to know the truths, that want to keep living in your fantasy world. And the truth of the matter is that people who are happy are less likely to gain their consciousness. Why? They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to give up their comforts. They don't want to face their fears. And the hardest part to say and the hardest part to swallow is they don't want to recognize how sorry they have been feeling for themselves. And this is truly where all the negative comes from. Now you can ask, how in the world can I say this? How would I know this? What gives me the right to say this? Well, ask a question. Granted, if it's right now and you ask me a question, if it's in reference to biblical, I will address it in the next video that I post. Unless it's one that I can very quickly, explain. And the reason why that is I am very careful not to quote religious scriptures. Because one thing I know, as soon as you change one single word that somebody says, you create a lie, you create a non-truth. Now stop and think of how many times our biblical scriptures have been translated, interpreted, and so on. Let's take something like Buddhism. If you go all the way back to the beginning of Buddhism, to the baskets of Buddhism, it's truth. And even Buddha says, do not worship me. I'm nobody to be worshipped. Look at what Buddha did. He left his what potentially was going to be his kingdom. He left his wife and his son on a spiritual journey, and he didn't come back. Because he was starting to wake up. He was starting to gain his consciousness. He was starting to work towards what Buddhism considers nirvana. Okay, now ask yourself, what was he meditating to? What was he praying to? What was he working towards? Well, the Almighty, where all the energy comes from. Fair enough. Now, start looking at all the other religions. The reason why I love and I'm fascinated with Buddhism, now I don't claim Buddhism as my religion. I totally respect it, and I have studied it. But kind of like on my arm, the way I perceive Buddhism in the order of tattoos on my arm that I didn't even realize until once I woke up that it was meant to be that way. Buddhism is your initial stage. Now, if you're another religion, well, if you're if you study Judaism or Islam or Christianity, well, Jesus does say meditate, plain and simple. So the way I perceive Buddhism, it is an absolute amazing, healthy, respectable way to start waking up, to face your demons, to stop feeling sorry for yourself, to start purging the negative. When I first gained my consciousness, I thought, and this was back, almost a year ago, I thought, oh, I need to go join a monastery and become a monk. So I meditated on it. I prayed, whatever you want to call it, because meditation and prayer is in essence basically the same thing. And I came out of meditation with a very strong knowing that for me, that was not the right route for me to go, because I would be gaining my consciousness within the confinements of an area, if you will. Kind of like gaining consciousness in a galaxy instead of a universe. Because what I am trying to reach myself is the true divine power. God, if you want to call it, or I am who I am. I am that I am. That's in my heart. That's who I am connected with. That's who I have become conscious with and recognized within me. Now, from a religious perspective, I've studied them all. Even I've studied ceremonial magic. And now if you think, ooh, that's horrible. Well, the truth of the matter is what Jesus was doing, could be considered magic, could be considered the same as a shaman, could be considered all these things depending on how your illusion was programmed, how you were taught, how your perception perceives it. For me, the Jesus Christ story, the New Testament, I tell you, it's amazing. The riddles, it's the only way it could be the way it is out of the true Holy Spirit, out of true divine energy. And I highly recommend, no matter what religion you are, and stop and think, you're not worshiping, you're just studying and understanding, giving the Holy Spirit, giving God, giving whatever you want to refer to, the best chance of communicating through to you through all your portholes, all your levels of acknowledgement. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you, for $7.99 on Spotify, you can get a audio book of the New Testament, and or you can, I believe, even on YouTube, you can get it for free. Please, please, please listen to it. The New Testament only takes 20 hours. The Old Testament, it's about 60 some hours. And if you find it hard to understand, please, as hard to believe as this may be, play it to yourself, whether it's through headphones. Ideally would be headphones, but myself personally, I don't like sleeping with headphones on. Have like a Bluetooth speaker or something and play it through the night as you sleep. I guarantee you are going to start understanding. You are going to start being able to hear the truths. You know, there's one part in it where the Bible says, he that have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says within the church. What that says to me is, oh my goodness, once you start waking up and once you start truly hearing what it's saying, it's so perfectly clear. Now, granted, I listen to all the Bibles randomly through the night. It all depends on what I feel I should be listening to. And every single night, I'll wake up at certain points randomly to hear something very specific. And when I wake up, I'm fully awake and I totally understand it. Now, I have started historically, I have made sure I've done everything absolutely unscripted. As you can tell how I've been talking to you today, everything is totally unscripted. Except I have wrote down key things that's important to point out. Now, when I say it's important to point out, it's because it gives you something to contemplate. It gives you something to think and to chew on so that you can start finding your own truths within yourself, your God, whatever you choose to believe, because I don't have the right to judge you, but I am supposed to accept you and love you. Thou shalt love thy neighbor like thyself. Things like that. Whatever your religion says, I bet you it says the same thing. Whether it's Islam, whether it's Judaism, it all comes down to the same thing. Another thing I'd like to point out is, to him that overcomes, I will grant to eat from the tree of life, which is in the paradise of God. So what does that mean to me? And like I said, don't take my word for it. Find them yourself. That would be in Revelations 2:7. And the first one, that he that have an ear, let him hear. Trust me, that is all through the Bible. And what that is Jesus saying over and over and over again, may the wise, may the conscious, may the ones that have stopped feeling sorry for themselves, may the ones that have given up their own life, bared their own cross, been willing to give their money to the poor, these are truly the ones that are going to hear the truth. Now, as you start doing your own research, as you start listening to the different Bibles, listen to, the baskets of Buddhism. The reason why I keep saying baskets of Buddhism is go back to the beginning. Now, you might think, okay, well, Judaism, this is why Judaism is based off the Old Testament, or Islam. Well, that was a very specific era. And I understand why Judaism, worships the way it does. I understand Islam, why they, worship the way they do, because, one, I've studied. But to all religions in the world, I respect what you feel. And everybody in the world should respect what they feel, because sure, there are things that are happening within certain religions that are horrific, that are misinterpreted, that are, you could say, false prophets, and so on. But go to the individual. Go to each person within that religion and think of them individually as if they're your brother, your sister, your neighbor, and understand the amount of energy that they're putting into their beliefs, because in their heart, within their illusion, within what they've been programmed by their parents, by generation after generation after generation, they are trying to do the right thing. They truly believe that that is doing the right thing. So instead of judging them, because one, the only thing you can do is judge whether or not you're feeling sorry for yourself. Why in the world would you judge them? Because you're supposed to love yourself like your neighbor. We're all one. We're all connected. And you're the only person in this world that has the exact same perception that you have. I just proved it through the lines. Nobody else could tell you what you're going to see. So I ask of you to please, when you feel hatred towards a religion in general, what gives you the right? What gives you the right to judge them when you don't know how their illusion was programmed? Sure, you can think, oh, it's idiocracy to think a certain way, or all these different things that can come up. Well, that's because you were programmed that way to think that way. Imagine if you were born within the Rothschilds family. You would look at people on the street that are homeless, or you would look at the common people who live in rural areas as being illegitimate, as being blind, as being unconscious, because your illusion can't fathom it. Your illusion can't fathom why other people believe religions that don't agree with what your illusion has told you. Today in Hawaii at 5:54, I believe it was, a 5 point something earthquake hit. I am fully conscious, so I look at all the negative and find the positive within the negative. Therefore, everybody feels the internet is incredibly negative. Social media is incredibly negative. Well, within the illusion, yes, it is. But I'm fully conscious. Therefore, I can find the positive within it. And I want to share with you an example of how to find the positive within it. That's so perfectly clear to see, and it's so easy to see. 5:54 p.m. is when the earthquake hit Hawaii. Go online in Google, type in 5:54 in the Bible. Read what it says. If I remember the Bible correctly, it says something to the effect of generation after generation, there's a deterioration in essence, the morality of humans. Don't quote me on this, but my heart tells me you're going to find it. 5:54 in the Bible. Search it. All day long, I can do stuff like this. Now, obviously, I'm pulling from my heart and my memory, and I still have my illusion that I can pull from. If I didn't, I wouldn't even be talking to you. If I totally shut down my illusion, in essence, you could consider that ascending. The reason why I would do that, totally, stop pulling from my illusion, totally disregard my illusion, would be because I'm feeling sorry for myself. Because if I love myself, it requires me to truly love everybody else. And if I truly love everybody else, then I am going to do every single thing in this world I possibly can to help anybody who desires to wake up figure out how to do it, figure out how to find their truths, how to find God within them. Now, I've brushed up against a lot of sensitive material, if you will. I want to make one thing perfectly clear. I am not looking to try to create a religion by no means. I mean, my name used to be Trent Suing, TrentSuing. And actually, I'll show you this flyer. This was when I started the channel and I was going around the United States, and I still had more of my illusion and control of my existence, if you will. This is what I would show everybody and give out, trying to get people to listen to me. If you're able to pull this back up, this live stream should be on my channel. You should be able to pull it up. I believe it's videoed or recorded so that you can reread this again if you want. It tells you who I am. It tells you the state of mind that I was in when I started. And it lets you know that I truly have nothing to gain. By the way, my name is no longer Trent Suing. What my name is irrelevant. That's between me and my God. And people that I meet, I don't remember names. Honestly, I don't even want to know what their name is, because a name to me was given to you by a non-conscious human being. It's not who you are. It's who a non-conscious human said you are. And if I don't know your name, nobody can ever tell me a lie about you. The only thing I will know about you is the interaction that we have had together. It's true. But let's see. I'm getting close to an hour here. And I know that people's attention span tends to fall off. So here shortly, I'm going to end this live stream. What I would like to say, though, is that come Christmas time, I'm going to take this from a different approach, because what I've been doing over the last year is, one, I've been growing myself on a spiritual level. I've been learning. I've been processing through all the negativity in my brain, and I've been trying to figure out, how in the world can I help other people find their truths within their God? I've also been figuring out, how in the world can I do this without people thinking that I'm trying to create some cult? Because by no means am I doing that. I don't want anything from anybody. I prefer to be amongst the crowd and nobody even know who I am or recognize me or anything. But if it happens, it will happen, because it's meant to be. Because one thing I know, that if you refuse to accept the negative and only accept the positive, well, nothing can possibly go wrong. And in essence, wouldn't that kind of start describing heaven on earth? Well, yeah, of course it would, because all things that are negative would start falling away. But if you notice at the very beginning of my channel and how I came up with it, well, I just knew. I just knew what I needed to do. I didn't pre-think anything about this channel. I just talked from my heart. And what is this channel in essence called? Trent Suing, on how to solve all the problems of the world simply by loving yourself enough to listen. And you know what? It never was about listening to me. It was about listening to the God within you. And the only reason why I am helpful is because the first thing I learned as soon as I woke up was how to speak to the brain in a way to prevent it from going into defense mode. If there is anything that I have said in my channel or in this live stream that your brain continues to chew on, that it just is obsessing about, that finding negative or disagreeing with what I'm saying, all you simply have to do is ask a question, and I can get you by it that quick. Because I don't know exactly how to communicate with every single illusion, every single perception, because we all have a choice and we all have a different perception. But once you tell me your thoughts, right away, I'll know exactly the direction your perception is looking. And if you think about it, as soon as somebody talks to me and I hear something negative, well, I can see the positive within it. So in all actuality, I end up knowing more about their brain than they do themselves, because their illusion, their physical brain, is clouding their perception of their existence. Like I said before, by no means am I looking for a following. I am just looking to help every single person I can. I had hoped that within this live stream, there would be people that are struggling with depression that would want to ask questions. There would be people that are struggling with their spiritual beliefs that maybe I could help give them a direction they could look so that they could find it themselves. I don't want anything from anybody other than to merely help, because I know the truth. I can hear the Bibles. I can hear the truth within them. And once you've learned how to do that, now you start seeing all the truth everywhere around you, every movie. Nobody can tell me something to try to trick me that I don't hear the truth within it and I don't see the negative. And as soon as I see the negative within it, I know more about what they were trying to do than they do. And then you start gaining, if you will, the wisdom of their illusion. Jesus, when he went around doing miracles, stop and think. One, most of the time he told people, do not tell people about this. Two is he looked them in, whoever he performed the miracle with, he looked them in the eyes and he said, you are healed because of your belief in your God. We all have the divine energy. We all have the light of God. We all have the Holy Spirit within us. And consciousness is merely the approach you take to be able to see it, to be able to read the Bibles from a true sense, not from the negative first perspective. From the perspective of the Holy Spirit from within you. You choose what that is. You choose what that's called. It's not my place to tell you. I just really hope that you use your heart to choose wisely, because your entire existence is wagered on it. Now, like I've said all along in my channel, I'm 100% transparent. I haven't had a script. I have zero ill intentions. And also, everything is. Hang on a second. I'll answer your question in a second. Everything is exactly how it's meant to be. All things are positive. All things are good. And you will see it once you gain your consciousness. Now, I do have a question here. Let me read it real quick so that I can answer it before I get off the channel. Just I'm having. I'm not the most technologically advanced. So, what's happening is I can't read the word. Struggling, knowing how it will pass, very difficult is all that I'm seeing. Once I'm done live streaming, because right now the emoji symbol is covering part of it and not allowing me to see it, and unfortunately I don't know how to get it to get out of my way so that I can see. Struggling, but to best I can tell, struggling with how it will pass, very difficult. You know, just going off of that, oh, I know what that struggle feels like. As I've been gaining my consciousness and as I've been waking up, I've had this reoccurring thought thinking, what am I doing? You know, what in the world can I possibly be thinking? Giving up everything, risking everything, in essence, taking on all the potential negativity that will be projected towards me, because I'm going to address every single religion and point out the positive and point out how they all come down to one simple concept, one simple belief, one simple God, if you will. And the way I keep reassuring and the way I keep knowing that I'm doing the right thing is because I think, okay, we come in this world by ourselves, we go out of this world by ourselves. And if there is not a purpose, if there is not a God, then why technology is beyond your brain as well. You know what? That's a good thing. That's why I could pay somebody to be a visual artist and handle all of this. But the reason why I don't do that is because the transparency and the truth would get degraded. As soon as I start adding subtitles or I start adding, things that pop up in the screen, I'm going to start tricking your illusion to see what I want it to see. And in order for me to talk to your brain in a way that it will understand and it will not kick into the defensive properties, if you will, is by talking from my heart, being real, being raw. Because if your brain thinks that something is bad about what I'm doing, and I'm just being 100% raw, talking pure truth, there's nothing I can do about it. But if I use like little visual art that pops up or have sub videos that are playing in the background to help illustrate what I'm trying to explain, then I'm changing your perception. I'm not talking from my heart. I'm not talking from the true spirit within, trying to connect with the true spirit within you. But to get back to the struggle, the more and more you gain consciousness, the more and more you realize, you force yourself every single time you have a negative thought. For example, when you say struggling, no, it will pass. Since you sent me another message, it moved it up. Now I can see it. Thank you for that. Struggling, knowing that it will pass, very difficult. Okay. First thing you have to do is stop and think of that statement in itself. And recognize that all the positive things that I'm saying here within the channel, all the ways I'm helping your brain recognize ways to find the positive within itself, your brain thinks about struggle. Now, please take this with a grain of salt. And there's a reason why I use that term. Take it with a grain of salt and realize that your brain is actually doing what I'm saying it's doing. It's looking at the negative first. Instead of it just hearing exactly what I'm saying and thinking of how positive this could be and how you could work towards this, it's thinking about struggling. It's thinking negative first, and it's thinking of ways to protect you, which is, in all actuality, it's feeling sorry for itself. It's not your fault. Everybody does it. Every brain does it from birth. That's why I pointed out, how the order of your memories were developed and programmed. Just take baby steps. Right now, if you just heard me say what I just said, you probably have some negative thoughts in your brain right now. And instead of thinking about those negative thoughts or processing those negative thoughts, please hear my words and hear me say, 1, I love you. I'm here to help. I will do everything in my power to help your brain understand how to quit feeling sorry for itself. It's nobody's fault. It's doing it to protect you, because your physical brain is trying to protect you, trying to keep you alive long enough until your spiritual side within wakes up and you truly gain consciousness. But that being said, and the grain of salt, had somebody within this last year say to me, Trent, what's going on? I've always considered you the salt of the earth. I'm sure that person doesn't realize that salt of the earth is a very prominent discussion within the Bible, and what Jesus says about the salt of the earth and how crucial the salt of the earth is. That it basically, salt of the earth, 1, it preserves meat from decay. It conserves protein, flesh, from decay. 2 is it makes the food of life taste just the slightest bit better. So please realize I have zero ill intentions. I am literally just trying to help be the salt of the earth, because all of us, anyone who's watching it, myself, and everybody on earth, everybody in their existence, all of us know that something's going on right now. Something's changing. Everywhere you look, everywhere you read, everyone's attitude is changing. The earth is changing. We're discovering things about the earth and about the galaxy that is popping up left and right. But yet, a year ago, this wasn't even a discussion. I know time does not exist. I've said this many a times. You go to a time zone border and you jump back and forth across the border, you're not time traveling. If an astronaut leaves Earth and goes to space station not that far out, stays there for 1 month, comes back to Earth, he's been gone for about 7 months. If he does the same thing and goes to Mars, he's been gone I think it's it's a tremendous amount of time. Now, start looking at science. Start looking at the things that they're saying. Start looking where feasibly it's projected that we're going to be able to start making manned flights to Mars. Well, we're having things that are taking place that are considered millions of light years away, but yet we're also discovering that there's a black hole that's warping the perception of time and space. We do not have a clue what time is. The only thing we can base time off of is our illusion, our perception of time. But that gets into quantum physics and so on and so on and so on. And maybe some other day we'll have time to discuss something like that. But for now, I'm going to get offline, and I just want to let you guys know that, hey, when I say I love you, I truly mean it. For anybody that's listening that thinks nobody in the world understands, nobody in the world loves you, that is so not true. If you need confirmation, send me an email, TRENTSUING@gmail.com. I will respond back to you as quickly as I can. Or, watch for my next live stream. I'm going to try to live stream on a regular basis. As long as I get people that are willing to listen, I'm willing to keep talking, because even if it's just one person to listen, that's enough for me. I love you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.